The Birds 2: Land's End has just been released on a special edition Blu-ray from Vinegar Syndrome. Now, the last time I watched this film is when it had its debut as a Showtime original movie on Saturday, March 19th, 1994. I remember being pretty disappointed with it back then. But how does it hold up now, nearly 30 years later? Well, let's find out. I first learned of The Birds 2 back in 1994 with issue number 130 of Fangoria magazine. The cover promises shocking sequels and is adorned with an image from Phantasm 3, along with Scanner Cop and Jason Goes to Hell uncut, just to name a few. The Birds is mentioned as well, Wings of Terror. The back of the magazine has an ad for the Full Moon classic Trancers 4, Jack of Swords. Have you ever seen the Trancers films? They're fantastic. Inside, we've got an ad for Bram Stoker's Dracula masks and costumes. So cool. And on page 28, Gulls just want to have fun, so they're mounting another campaign against those pesky humans in the made-for-cable Birds 2. The coverage is pretty fascinating and includes interviews with director Rick Rosenthal of Halloween 2 and Halloween Resurrection fame, and Tippi Hedren, the star of the first Birds movie. The Birds 2 was a famously troubled production, so it's interesting reading this coverage. Tippi Hedren expresses her disappointment with certain aspects of this sequel, and Rick Rosenthal mentions the ever-changing script. As a kid reading through this, I didn't pay much attention to all the production issues, but I did latch onto the promise of more gore. Oh, and there's a funny story about a drunken local wandering onto the set and disrupting filming. But I remember being excited to watch this one back then, and when I finally did watch it on Showtime with my parents and younger sister, we were all more than a little disappointed. The Birds 2: Land's End is about a family that heads to a summer home on the East Coast. They want to use the time to get some important work done, but also spend time together after a tragic accident took the life of one of their children. Oh, and they also have a dog named Scout, who is hands down the best character in the movie. So cute. Everything starts off normal enough, but soon the birds start acting strange, and eventually start getting violent. Now the father, Ted, catches on first that something bad is going to happen. He tries to warn everyone, including the useless mayor, who takes his inspiration from the mayor in Jaws, and ignores the problem. Hey, there's Muse Watson, the fisherman from I Know What You Did Last Summer. Oh, and they meet a shop owner, played by Tippi Hedren from the first film, but weirdly enough, she's not playing the same character here, and she's barely in the movie. So, the birds eventually start killing people, and are soon wreaking havoc all over Land's End. I love the original Birds. It's a true classic, and is a film I watched countless times as a kid. So let's get this out of the way up front. The Birds 2 is not at all on the same level as the Hitchcock classic. I understand why I was so disappointed when I first saw the sequel back then. The film lacks the suspense and style of the original, and Tippi Hedren is totally wasted here. Apparently she joined the production at the last minute, and that's the role they had for her, an entirely different character from the first movie. I mean, come on, a legendary actress returns 20 years later to a classic role, and you're just gonna have her play a different person? It would be like Jamie Lee Curtis returning to Halloween and playing an unrelated minor side role. It's crazy. The movie doesn't really have much of a connection to the original film, besides a throwaway line of dialogue by the old man from the Mighty Ducks 2. It also feels a bit choppy at times, and people will notice right off the bat that director Rick Rosenthal disowned the film, as the credited director is Alan Smithee, which is a fake name used when directors want their names taken off of films. Now, having said all of that, I have to admit, I actually enjoyed the movie with this viewing. The acting was good all around, and the characters were pretty likable, especially the dog, and I was invested in the characters. Now sadly, the lead, played by Brad Johnson, passed away this year from COVID. Very sad. The film was well written by Ken and Jim Wheat, who co-wrote The Fly 2 and Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. They also wrote and directed the fantastic anthology horror film After Midnight. This movie had some nice direction and a solid score. Although slowly paced at times, I was never bored, and the action-packed finale with the bird attacks was well done. So yeah, the film was much better than I remembered it. The movie is currently sitting at a 3.1 out of 10 user rating on the Internet Movie Database, and I really don't think that's fair. Yes, it has flaws, and the ending was a little too abrupt for my taste, but I had a good time with this, and I'm glad I gave it another chance. Vinegar Syndrome restored the film in 4K from the original Interpositive, and it looks amazing. Some shots are a bit grainier than others, but overall, it looks fantastic. The film is presented here in its original full-frame aspect ratio. Only one audio option is included, a DTS HD Master Audio Track 2.0, and it sounds excellent. I have no complaints. Special features are plentiful. We've got an audio commentary with film historians Amanda Reyes and Sam Pancake, a 17-minute interview with the composer, an 11-minute locations feature, a stills gallery, and best of all, a 54-minute making-of documentary. It includes cast and crew interviews, and although I would have liked to have seen more people involved, what we got here was great. There's some fascinating information on the production of this troubled film. Vinegar Syndrome has included a thick cardboard slipcover. Reversible art is included as well. The Birds 2: Land's End may not be on the same level as the first movie, but it's still a solid effort. The picture quality and special features are top-notch, and I definitely recommend checking this out. It deserves another chance.